Thank you all for coming. Before we begin, and I tell you why I believe Civ Kit will change the world, I want to offer some recognition to the people that made it here. And I'm not just talking about that room. It's been 13 years, 3 halvings, how many crashes, started at 0, crashed down to 27,000, endless heaps of FUD, and we're all still here. Thank you. I am privileged to be a part of this community because out of all the communities in the world, out of all the movements in the world, it is you guys here in Bitcoin that are the true monotheists of money. And that fanatical drive that we have to defend is very special. And I hope humanity never loses that. So thank you. Question is, why are we really here? And what is our measure of success? Is it simply to replace banks with wallets and we'll call it a day? Have we really gotten Bitcoin out the door? What is our measure of success? To me, if we had 1 billion daily engaged users, citizens, that to me is success. And for me, the battle is personal. It's a personal struggle. My parents came from Egypt to America when I was just a small boy, 2 years old. They had to leave because there was no opportunity where we were born. And they had to go to a strange place where they didn't speak the language. They didn't have a day off in 30 years. Can you imagine? But we're so happy to have the opportunity, because where else will you find opportunity? Well, here we are building a whole world of opportunities with the belief that opportunity can exist anywhere. Anywhere you're born, you can have opportunity. That's what I believe. The human condition is that if you just leave humans alone with a system of honest money, that they will create prosperity and abundance. And history has shown that to be true, but if your heart is closed, you'll never really believe that. You can't have victory until you truly internalize that. But all of us here in Bitcoin, we just have that feeling in here that's gotten us all the way here. And one more bit of love. Out of all the communities in the world, when you mention the global south and the peoples of Africa and how much they suffered, they'll all feel pity usually. But us Bitcoiners, we've always stood shoulder to shoulder with the peoples of the global south. And that's beautiful. I respect you for that more than anything else. Thank you. So let's talk about why we're going to change the world. You don't change the world unless you're willing to solve some big problems. And we're not just solving a big problem, we're solving the biggest problem, the money problem. Why is most of the world's population poor? Why are people living in poverty still? With all the technology that we have now, we should have a better world. So you have to know the problem if you're going to solve it, guys. And I've given the problem a name. And I've traveled the world for the past 8 years. And I've done something revolutionary. As a CEO, I would actually go and talk to my customers. Not many people actually do that. I don't know what they're afraid of. But every single conversation I've had, I've learned something. I've gone to the streets of the global south, to the streets of Lagos, the streets of Cairo, Nairobi, El Salvador, Brazil, Venezuela, all of these places. The people are in the same situation. They have money, but they just can't use it. Walls, barriers are put up around them. Sending money to the country next door becomes a nightmare. You're better off getting on a bus or getting on a plane with a suitcase full of cash. Africa has 2,000 payment networks, yet only 3% of them actually talk to each other. Money is trapped in all these places. My mother, who worked for 30 years without a single day off to save her money, has just lost half of her life savings, thanks to the capital controls imposed by the Central Bank of Egypt. Should we blame Egypt for this? No. The problem is far greater. I call this problem, and it's a dramatic name, brace yourselves, I call it financial apartheid. And you only begin to respect how real it is when you travel the streets of the global south and you see how people's money is kept in a prison. You see how corruption is just a weed that grows at the feet of these barriers. People find a way to take advantage of the situation. And it's people like my parents that suffer. But now we have a chance to change everything. Because we have so many amazing cards in our deck. We've got some real aces. This thing started a while ago. I'm not going to take it back 2,000 years to when this carpenter decided to nip the whole fiat experiment in the bud. That might be a little too much history. But we've got the internet, right? That came first. Peers can be connected. Then we've got what? More mobile phones than people? Then we had this magical invention, magical internet money, peer-to-peer electronic cash. People call it Bitcoin. And we have all these other amazing technologies that are popping up. Nostr. It's kind of like a glorified RSS feed, but hackers love it. And we can get right to work building communication apps on there. Order books. We've got Tor. We've got all these other little bits and pieces that can actually work together and give us freedom in how we use our money. But someone has to bring it all together. No one's done that yet. There's been a lot of people that have put together amazing marketplace frameworks, right? And they work pretty well. But we call this Civ Kit, as in Civilization 2.0, not Market Kit. What's so special about this system? How's it going to change the world? Where will it succeed where other decentralized marketplaces have not? They have not picked up traction. They have not picked up volume. Why will this be different? Well, number one, Team Hachiko, that's me and the gang. We've actually been through this rodeo before, and we understand just putting up an order book or a Craigslist type listing of inventory is not enough. Even adding payments with a condition like an escrow, that's not enough. There's a lot more that goes into building a marketplace. But if we are solving the biggest problem in the world, financial apartheid, we need a way to connect all peoples of the world together, where anyone can trade anything with anyone else. The first thing you do is you focus. Do we really need another way to sell Pez dispensers and vinyl records online? Is someone breaking their neck to do that with Bitcoin? No. The real killer app is money. People want to be able to exchange money, not just in different currencies, but in different networks as well. This is the killer app. This is the one argument for Bitcoin besides speculation, besides gray markets. People want to be able to use their money. They want to be able to take that gift card and get Bitcoin or turn it into a cash deposit here or a bank transfer there. Any form of money can become any other form of money. And that is what the peoples of the global south taught me when I put out this Swiss Army knife for money that is a peer-to-peer marketplace. They just hacked it to do every little thing that they could, that they needed, whether it was building a peer-to-peer version of Western Union or PayPal. They will find a way to do it because the peoples of the global south are resilient and they're ready to move forward. And make no mistake, guys, I want to face this one point down right here because it's important. I talk about the global south a lot. And people wonder where this term came from. Well, Malcolm X used it, Che Guevara used it, a lot of revolutionaries have used it. You think Africa, you think Latin America, you think all the black, brown, and yellow people that aren't doing so well. Well, the truth is, the white folks ain't doing so well either. Y'all could be doing a hell of a lot better. We do not have to entertain the notion that the West has to suffer for the global South to rise. Absolutely not. That is the lie they tell us to keep us at odds. This is not the West versus the global South. This is the global South and the West rising up together to heights we couldn't imagine. Believe me, we will help each other. There are 6 billion people in the global South, and they only have 20% of the wealth, despite having 80% of the population. Once we get all that money flowing, once we make all those sats flow, those folks are going to create billions, hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars of value. And that will move around the world, and we will all reap the benefits. I feel so free saying that. Truth feels good. So let's look at the bits and pieces that we've got, right? We've got this head start. We've got Bitcoin right there. It's doing great. Money can move around the world. It's been 13 years. HODL has kept us strong. It's kept that price going up. That always makes us feel good. But it's not about the price. It's about the purpose. We need to make those sats flow. How do we do that? I bootstrapped the business to 13 million users, about $10 billion in volume. And it wasn't wash trading or front running or back running or any of that. These were manual peer-to-peer trades. The youth of the Global South, big love up to the people of Nigeria, a country of 200 million people, 65% youth unemployment, and the youth began to realize no one was going to help them unless they helped themselves. And now Nigeria leads all of Bitcoin adoption globally. That's an amazing achievement. 7 years ago when I started talking about Africa and Bitcoin, no one believed the word. No one wanted to hear it. And now we're in a very different place. And this is only the beginning. So here's the bits and pieces that we need to put together to make this thing work, right? So you've got this order book built on Nostr, which is a good technology to do that. Anyone can list any form of value, whether you want to trade Bitcoin for a bank transfer, a gift card, whatever it might be, goods, services, anything can be listed there. And a payment can be applied with a condition. That is what an escrow is, right? Using Bitcoin. That's awesome. And a lot of people have already built that. We're doing it as well with our own protocol, but we're bringing in the bits and pieces that are required to make this a true world-changing event. And you only know that if you've done it before, and I have. So here's the biggest problem out of all these things, and it's something people don't look at. It's called dispute arbitration. Whenever you're dealing with money, it could be a $50 gift card, it could be a $5 million bank transaction. Whenever you're dealing with money, there's going to be disputes. And if there's going to be disputes, people want recourse. These are not drug dealers we're talking about here. These are good people, normal people, business people that run a business. These are good, clean transactions that money needs to flow around the world, so they want some kind of recourse. Dispute arbitration is extremely difficult. If you look at my Twitter timeline, when I was the CEO of my last company, every single day you'd have 10 to 100 people calling me a scammer because they lost their $50 gift card dispute. The truth is, if you're not getting feedback like that and a few death threats, you really ain't doing enough. But I did the work and I got the feedback, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a system of peer-to-peer dispute arbitrators. This is an absolute requirement, and it's the biggest problem in the world. Is essentially the trust problem and the problem of recourse. This will be built into Civ Kit, and we already have an army of peer-to-peer dispute moderators that have learned the business over the past decade and are ready to go in and make this thing scale. You're going to need a few other bits and bobs too. One is a stable coin on Bitcoin. Tether has served us very well, but what the world really needs is a Civ dollar backed up by Bitcoin. Because the truth is, traders prefer to trade without volatility. If you've done one trade, you know that's true. And there's something else we're going to need. Who here hates KYC? Raise your hands. Some friction, some pain. KYC sucks. It is uninclusive. It is non-standard. And what tools are available might work in the West with Latin alphabets, but they certainly don't work in the Global South, if someone has an idea at all. So what we really need to do is replace Know Your Customer with Know Your Peer, KYP, a decentralized global ID store where you control your identity, just like you control your Bitcoin. You give people permission. Because guess what? In peer-to-peer trades, people, your peers, not the feds, not a centralized organization, but your peers want to know who they're dealing with. I don't want to take a bank transfer for someone unless I know this guy is not a scumbag. So we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We need identity. It is the foundation of banking, but it has to be done on our terms. That's what's important. And KYP will be built into this. And there's a huge bonus attached to solving this massive challenge. and that is reputation. We will be able, algorithmically, through their trades on this open marketplace, this order book for everything that is shared with the world, be able to extend out a reputation and thus a credit line to people that have had no access and no hope for credit. With that, people can build all kinds of applications and utilities on Civ Kit, money markets, credit and lending, DEXs, credit lines, that would cause an immense influx of capital to come from the West into the global South. It would change lives. Make no mistake, the game we're talking about here is the rapid changing of lives every single day. What is our measure of success? To me, if I'm going to judge what I do every single day, it's not even about volume. It's not about numbers. It's about what daily change did we make in the life of the most vulnerable member of society, that single mother that's trying to take care of her 2 children. What difference have we made in her life? Well, get this, even if we don't make a difference directly, all the people building and transacting on this might give her a job, might employ the people around her, and will definitely build up the community around that person. That is what I've seen. But that's not enough. I also believe in helping that person directly and talking to them directly. Civ Kit is a non-for-profit. The protocol does not earn money. We want it to be pure, just like Bitcoin. This is important that we all build on this together. So we've got this big family we put together, and the Civ Kit team is quite small. It's just 4 people right now. And we're going to keep it that way for a little while, but we're shipping the first code in 2 weeks. So again, why will this change the world? It's going to make the money flow. It's going to make the money flow to the places where money has never flown before. It doesn't move around in the global South. You guys can ignore these slides. I don't need them anyway. They're not really in sync. I'm just kind of freestyling. When money starts to flow around, something amazing happens. Wealth is created. This is what's special about us humans. That if you put us in a place where all we have is honest, sound money, we will start building. And wealth will be created. Free trade creates wealth. The longer the corridor, the better. What I've seen running a peer-to-peer marketplace over the past 8 years is that, amazingly, people will build up corridors between themselves which you could not imagine. From the Dominican Republic to Rwanda, from Khartoum to Dubai to Riyadh, you will see all kinds of corridors form for things you couldn't even imagine. And wealth is created along each one. People ask me, what happened in Africa? How did you get the first Bitcoins into Africa? 8 years ago, there was no Bitcoin in Africa. We had to solve the biggest, hardest problem. How are the Africans going to pay for the Bitcoin from the Europeans, Americans, and Chinese when it's impossible to get the money out of those places? People are desperate to do that, like my own mother and her life savings. We used the hack to make it happen, guys. I showed the Nigerians how they could get money from their friends and family in the West instead of Western Union. Take this gift card, show it to this guy in China, give it to him at a discount, and you'll get Bitcoin. And magically it worked. That one hack got billions from China to Africa, and from there it spread out to the rest of Africa. And that's what we're doing here. We're a bunch of hackers. We're hacking together these solutions, right? Just like that first hacker, Satoshi Nakamoto. But he made it all work. And there's a lot of bits and pieces we're going to have to bring together to make this all work. But we've already started. And the most important part of this and what we're doing is we know the problem, and we're going directly at the problem. We're not dancing around here. If dispute resolution is going to be a nightmare, but we need it to make this thing work, well, guess what? We're going to make it work. If we need a decentralized identity and a stable coin on Bitcoin, then we're going to make that work as well. I want to thank you all so much for coming here, but I want to leave you with one thing. With everything that we do, with everything that we're building, just remember, we're only defending ourselves. I think we've all come to realize that we are in a battle of good versus evil here. And maybe I played too many RPGs as a kid, But I've seen enough evidence to realize that this is not a battle that we can afford to lose. We have to win this thing, and we don't have much time. There is a sense of urgency. Because these small cast of men that run the world are in a very vain position right now. Should they be successful in creating this world where escape isn't just impossible, it's unthinkable, well, I don't want my children to grow up in a world like that. So I've chosen the path of defiance. But the good news is none of us have to run headfirst into a battle with any one of them. Because as we've seen in the past, it's so easy for them to chop the head off any one of us. But they surely cannot stop an army of mosquitoes. And that is the power of peer-to-peer electronic cash. With Civ Kit, we will be taking the promise of Bitcoin and getting it out the door. Bitcoin will touch far more than just mining. It will extend itself into the real world with more than just electricity. It will put 6 billion people in an advantageous position over where they were yesterday, not over us, and allow us to build a world of wealth, prosperity, and abundance together. Thank you all so much for coming. I'm looking forward to this journey. But we've only got 7 years, folks. We got to make every second count.